How's it going everyone? WildeThang here and welcome to another Destiny video. So in this video I'm going to be comparing the Hawksaw, which is the vendor version from before Rise of Iron, and the Blind Perdition. You can still get the Hawksaw. I managed to have one drop from a blue engram just moments ago. So you can still get the Hawksaw in Rise of Iron, but you obviously can't get the vendor version. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to compare the actual stats. So this is actually the one that I got from that blue engram. It's not got great perks on it, but I just wanted to show you. And I'm going to add a clip to the video just so you can actually see it happening in case you're not aware of it. So this is my vendor version Hawksaw. Let's just take a look at the perks. So we have fitted stock, counterbalance and small bore. So it's got really good stability, and the counterbalance helps keep the spray pattern straight instead of veering off to left or right. And on the Blind Perdition, this is obviously, every one that drops is exactly the same. So I've got smooth ballistics, hand-laid stock, high caliber rounds and counterbalance. Now the reason I'm comparing these two is because they are in the same archetype and they are the same, pretty much the same pulse rifles. Some people have actually replaced their Hawksaw with the Blind Perdition. I kind of flip between the two because they are very similar, and sometimes I just feel like the Hawksaw performs better, but then again sometimes the Perdition does work better. It just depends on the games that I'm having. So let's just check out these stats. So as you can see, the Hawksaw does have a bigger magazine, which does help in certain situations. It does have slightly more range and stability, but slower reload speed. But as you can see, they're pretty much exactly the same. Both of my versions have counterbalance on them as well, so they are really good. So I thought I would just show you guys a comparison just in case you're wondering what the difference is and if there is even a difference. So what I'm going to do first is show you the spray pattern of the Blind Perdition. So as you zoom in, you can see you've got this lovely scope, and with this scope, if you aim at enemies, they actually glow red, which is pretty cool. You'll see that throughout the video when I show you some clips from the Crucible, but it's very handy, especially if there's like loads of smoke grenades or just chaos going on, just stuff that you can't really see through normally. If you aim down the sights, you'll be able to see the enemies through the smoke and you'll be able to shoot them. So let's look at the Blind Perdition and how it performs. There we go. So as you can see, it is slightly going to the right, but as you can see, all the pellets are in the same sort of area, and I'm not moving my analog sticks or anything. That is just it naturally going to the right. Let's just change to the Hawksaw now. The Hawksaw goes off to the left, as you can see. So you can either, you've got to, obviously depending on which one you're using, you've got to try and compensate for that movement. As you can see, all the bullet holes are pretty much close together. So that's pretty good, and obviously if you're at range or at a distance, you'll be able to hit the enemy's head pretty easily, and yeah, just keep control of it a lot better than any other pulse rifles. But from what I'm looking at here, I think the Blind Perdition is actually like a closer bundle of shots there. It doesn't veer off to the right as much as the Hawksaw veers off to the left. You saw that the spread was a lot larger on the Hawksaw. So the Blind Perdition does have a closer cluster of pellets, and the spray pattern is a lot more controllable. So comparing these two in the Crucible, the Blind Perdition does have a smaller magazine, and it can be tough getting 2 kills with one magazine, or even more than 2, unless of course the enemies are weak or they're grouped together and a grenade hits them, or your team shotting them. It can be very tough to get at least 2 kills with one magazine. I do feel like I'm reloading a hell of a lot with the Blind Perdition compared to my Hawksaw, but the Blind Perdition does have the added feature of the scope that highlights enemies, especially through smoke grenades. That can be a hell of a lot of use, especially if the enemy that's the other side of the smoke doesn't have this weapon. They won't be able to see you, so you'll be able to shoot them knowing full well where they are because they're glowing red. They've got like a huge red outline, and it's just easy to see them through anything. These two pulse rifles are very similar. Obviously the perks are slightly different, and if you can't get a Hawksaw that was similar to the vendor version, then you may prefer the Blind Perdition. The only time I've struggled with either of these two pulse rifles is when I'm going up against someone using a scout rifle across the map, or the Clever Dragon from Iron Banner. That pulse rifle is ridiculous, and it is probably the best pulse rifle in the game at the moment. But unfortunately I didn't have one drop. I had like 6 hand cannons drop. But I will be doing a review on some of the Iron Banner weapons that I did get in case you're wondering. These two pulse rifles are definitely in the top 3 of my favourite pulse rifles and what in my opinion are the best pulse rifles in the game. The Clever Dragon is probably number 1 because it just freaking melts people. Unfortunately I've not got my hands on one, I've not been able to use it, so I can't really comment on it, but I know a lot of people are enjoying that one. After all this, if I had to pick between the two pulse rifles, I would definitely pick the Blind Perdition. Just because it's got the added feature of high caliber rounds, and it's also got the scope that highlights enemies, and that can be really useful in tough situations. But that's just my opinion. You may have something completely different. You may like another pulse rifle that's completely different to these two. But it's just down to personal preference and what you like using, and also your playstyle. So anyway guys, I hope this video has helped. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see more of these types of videos, and I will see you in the next one.